Boy, oh boy, you don't really see a lot of qualifier games get the kind of attention that we saw the match that just ended between Netherlands and West Indies get. And what a match, packed with action, packed with a lot of headlines. And the biggest of all is the fact that the Netherlands have now really made it a habit of causing upsets. Nobody gave them a chance a few months back against South Africa. Look what happened tonight as well against the West Indies, who, by the way, did lose to Zimbabwe a couple of days back. And you expected the West Indies to do something over here to give them a good chance, or rather a reasonable chance, let's say, going into the main event of the World Cup, which is going to take place in India. But what this defeat now for West Indies means is, yes, they will somehow make it to the Super Sixes, mathematically speaking, but they will go into the Super Sixes without any points. But let's first talk about the action, then we'll talk about how exactly the Super Sixes could look like for the West Indies. The mighty West Indies are now looking at a scenario wherein they might miss out on the flight to India for the World Cup main event. But what happened today? Well, total in excess of 370, which you saw being chased down almost by the Netherlands in an incredible manner. There was just about 7 runs that Aljari Joseph had, 9 runs, beg your pardon, that he had to save in the last over. What an innings there by Teja for the Netherlands. Teja Nida Munru, the interesting fact about him, 111 runs he scored off 76 balls. This was the time, by the way, he came in at bat at number 5, where the match was going away from the Netherlands. But Teja played an innings to remember and tilted the momentum for the Netherlands. What in fact is interesting note about him is he is player of Indian descent. He was born in Arunachal Pradesh, so that's the interesting bit about Teja. But then what a final blow that was landed by Van Beek right at the end. Logan Van Beek playing at a strike rate of 200, and we're still talking about we're just talking about the 50 overs. And a quick correction over there, as far as Teja Nidamunru is concerned, he comes from Andhra Pradesh, not Arunachal Pradesh. So that's a bit of a correction over there. But speaking about Van Beek, 28 of just 14 deliveries for him, and that wasn't it. So what that knock essentially did is that the match went into the super over. Van Beek was again on strike, and well, he went all guns blazing in the super overs as well. One could question why Alzari Joseph wasn't given the ball. In fact, it was Jason Holder who came out to bowl the super over, gave away 30 runs in the super over, and was Van Beek again who was the record in chief for Netherlands. But what happened in the super over again, with those many runs on the board, the West Indies were always going to be under pressure to chase down or to get to a target of 31 in the super over. Eventually that could not happen, and what this means is that even if the West Indies finish third, which they in all likelihood will, well, they will go into the Super Sixes without any points. Now the other two teams which are placed above West Indies at the moment, which is Zimbabwe and Netherlands. As far as Netherlands go, they will go in with 2 points because they've beaten the West Indies, and Zimbabwe will in all likelihood not just be finishing as group toppers, but they will move into the Super Sixes with 4 points now because they've beaten both the Netherlands and the West Indies. The mighty West Indies, by the way, now what this defeat does for them is it all but rules them out of the main event of the Cricket World Cup. Sad in many ways that the two-time champions and the team that used to terrify opponents back in the day, for the first time you will see them missing out on the main Cricket World Cup event. The West Indies stay alive as far as the qualifiers are concerned, but you need, or you're looking at least about 8 points at the end of the qualifiers for the top 2 teams to qualify. West Indies now can only and only make it to 6 points. That too will happen if they beat the 3 opponents of the Group B that they'll be facing. Sri Lanka look like the group toppers in Group B as far as the qualifiers go. Not quite sure of the second and the third teams, who the teams will be. It looks like Scotland could finish number 2. Ireland haven't had a great deal of success in the qualifiers as yet, so we'll have to see which the third team will be. But then West Indies now at the max can reach just 6 points now. They will need huge favors now from both Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe, because they in all likelihood will be the group toppers from their respective groups, and they will have to lose at least 2 of the 3 matches for them to, let's say, just be restricted to 6 points. Because you're easily looking at a Zimbabwe and a Sri Lanka to get to 6 points, because 4 they will anyway be coming in with as far as the Super Sixes are concerned. But then just another win and they get to 6, 2 wins for them, and that means that West Indies' time. Rather in the qualifiers is also over, and they will not be boarding that flight to India. So mathematically one can say that they're still alive and they still have a chance, but that outside chance also that many were giving them mathematically, that also is now very, very slender, and West Indies have nobody but themselves to blame, because 2 back-to-back defeats for them. They've been leaking too many runs today as well. A match that they really, after all those runs that they scored, you expect the West Indies to go on and at least defend those kind of targets, but wasn't the case today. And kudos to Netherlands. Just about a few months back, you saw them beat the a certain South African side at the 2022 World Cup. But then, and let's not forget in 2009 England as well. So they are getting used to coming out of the shadows and beating the tougher opponent out there, and that's what you really need to appreciate about this Netherlands side. Could they go ahead and keep up with this temperament? Could they go ahead and seal a spot as far as the main event of the World Cup is concerned? That we'll have to wait and watch. But a major jolt to the West Indies' chances, now only and only hanging by a very thin thread. It is all but over for the West Indies. The Super Sixes are yet to begin, but West Indies have themselves to blame for where they find themselves. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see how things pan out from here for the West Indies. For all of you joining us right now, big development as far as the qualifiers for the main event of the Cricket World Cup is concerned. The match between the Netherlands and West Indies going into the super over, where there was only one side that was dominant, and that was courtesy Van Beek, who not just played at a strike rate of 200 in the 50 over quota, 28 of 14 deliveries, but he didn't let the tempo drop in the all-important super over as well, and he ensured that the Netherlands registered a win against the West Indies, and they're on course to not just the Super Sixes but maybe for bigger things. That we'll have to wait and watch. Thank you so much. In case you're joining us right now, do go all the way back and check out the details as to what the permutation combinations for the West Indies could look like. But as I said just a short while back, everything hanging by a thread, and they need massive favors now from Sri Lanka, from Zimbabwe, and the other opponents as well that they'll be facing. Thank you so much for joining us for this quick update, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Sports Today. Tap that bell icon so that you know every time we go live.